Good afternoon and welcome to IT Office Hours with Andromeda Technology Solutions. My name is Abby and I oversee the marketing and web team over here at Andromeda. We have a pretty exciting topic for you this afternoon. We're digging into one of the, I will say, newer products in the Microsoft Software as a Service line. It is called Microsoft 365 for Business, or you might have heard of this as M, as in Mary or Microsoft, M365. It's a similar product line and idea to something that you've probably heard of, Office 365 or O365. But so today we're going to talk about Microsoft 365, kind of what it is, some frequently asked questions, maybe some of the differences between Microsoft 365 and Office 365, and all of those goodies. So for anyone who has not been to office hours with Andromeda just yet, I do always want to make sure that I introduce kind of what it is, who it's for, and the topics that we cover. So here at Andromeda Technology Solutions, we really value our network, our current clients, prospective clients, friends, family, everybody. And we really just wanted to create an opportunity once a month to get together to share some valuable, educational, free content related to, scams hitting businesses like yours. Cybersecurity is front of mind for all of us when things aren't working on our network, when our computers are down. For most cases, our businesses are suffering. So we want to make sure we're getting ahead of any type of cybersecurity incidents, trends, things of that nature. We're going to share tips and tricks to share with your staff for popular programs. We've done sessions on, like I mentioned, Office 365. We've done sessions on Teams. Today we're digging into Microsoft 365. So we do try to share with you tips and tricks and kind of the best practices to get the most out of your software solutions. Then we will cover, different solutions that are available that are hitting the market, new technologies, new softwares, things that we think you might find valuable. And finally, for those clients of ours that are in compliant industries, professional services, we do cover things related to HIPAA, PII, and other compliance standards whenever we need to make sure that we're sharing the information that you guys want to know. So that's kind of the breakdown of what IT Office Hours is, the 10,000 foot version. And now we'll dig into this month's topic, which, as I mentioned, is Microsoft 365 or M365, Microsoft 365 for Business. So this product was launched in 2017. So when we say it's new, it really isn't quote unquote new, but it is gaining in popularity with respect to just being talked about, discussed for small to mid-sized businesses, enterprise, and we wanted to make sure that we covered it as it is something that you may want to consider for your business. So our first question is really going to be, what is Microsoft 365 for Business? So inherently with that 365 at the end of the number there, Microsoft is trying to showcase the fact that this is a product that is all-encompassing, full circle, every day of your business, every element of your business. It's going to take care of you. And essentially, Microsoft 365 is just another monthly subscription-based software as a service offering, or SAAS. That's software as a service, if you see that out in the news and in the world. But it combines Microsoft's premier solutions, 3 of those solutions built upon other programs, but those 3 solutions are Windows 10 Pro, so that would be the operating system that your computer is utilizing. So Windows 10, but that's the professional version, it's not the home version. So Windows 10 Pro, the Office 365 full suite, and then Enterprise Mobility and Security Tools, or EMS as it's called in the industry. So as I mentioned, this does include the full Office 365 suite for the most part. So that means that your email, your OneDrive, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, SharePoint, Teams, all those standard programs that you would find in Office 365 and that are cloud or locally based. So you can run them off of your device, or if you got an internet connection, you can run them from your phone, your tablet, your laptop, pretty much anywhere, up to 5 devices. But so Office 365 is included, all those different products, which is pretty great. And then finally, the big thing is this enterprise mobility and security. And I know I probably need to dig into that specifically. What is that? What's it for? What is it about? So I kind of pared this down a little bit because Microsoft has a very, eloquent description of what EMS is, but for, the rest of us, it's really just a combination of tools that are meant to help you manage two things. And those are going to be your employee profiles, or like the virtual profiles, like so login credentials, accessibility, those types of things. And then also it's going to be devices. So like I said, cell phones, tablets, laptops. We've got people on the go. We've got people coming in and out of the office. These days, we're working on really helping clients make sure they've got their work from home policies up to date, and they've got, teammates in and out of the field doing whatever they've got to do for their jobs, right? So this creates and presents a lot of, interesting moments from an IT perspective with respect to just making sure that users can easily access programs they need to access on the go, but maybe not be able to access problems or programs that they shouldn't be able to access. It also obviously creates a situation where we've got a lot of devices. We live in the time of bring your own device, or BYOD. Employees are bringing cell phones, and we can't really tell them not to bring their cell phones to work, right? Employees are wanting to hook up their iPads and their tablets and their other devices to the network that they want to be able to do work off of. Employees have laptops. My laptop functions it is my desktop. I take it home with me at the end of the day. I bring it back with me in the morning. How do we make sure that these devices are secure, usable, and compliant? Well, this EMS tool that Windows offers with Microsoft 365 is one of the ways that we do that. So EMS is actually built up of a few different software programs that I'm going to dig into just a little bit here to give you kind of a better picture of what this security side of M365 covers. Just because essentially, M365 is really geared towards small to mid-sized businesses that want to have the ability to scale and control everything soup to nuts, from the operating system, the applications that their employees are using, the access that the devices that they're bringing in and out of the organization have, and all of those different goodies. So it's really just kind of the next step with respect to businesses that want to be able to deploy quickly and professionally all these different elements on their network. And obviously all of this falls under the Windows umbrella. So the first thing that this EMS product is built on is Azure Active Directory. And I do believe it's pronounced Azure. You'll hear Azure and Azure in the industry, but Azure is the one that Microsoft has told us. So to solve that mystery, it's Azure Active Directory. And that's going to allow for things like single sign-on for cloud and on-premises apps. And what single sign-on means essentially, and again, the most basic form, is that you've got one username and one password that's going to be deployed across multiple different situations and programs on your network. So it's unique to every single employee, right? So this is, instead of there being one account and one password that all the employees share to get in and out of workstations, an Active Directory essentially just means that we've got individual profiles for everybody. And by using Azure to help deploy that, it allows for single sign-on to, let's say, you log into your computer with the same password that you would log in for your email and all those different tools. And it allows it just to kind of be seamless and streamlined. So when you update that one element, that one password, it gets deployed across the network. And the nice thing there is, as opposed to other Active Directories that might only apply to things that are on premises or in the walls of your building physically present, Azure Active Directory allows you to deploy that across cloud and on premises applications. Then you're allowed to apply things like conditional access. So you can lock things down. This is where you would handle things like, too many poor attempts. You would make sure that you would handle user profiles. So for instance, myself in the marketing department, maybe I don't need to get access to certain files within the HR, field of reference. I don't need to be checking the payroll or the insurance information of our other employees. So we would make sure with conditional access, we would lock things down for individual to individual to make sure that people can get access to what they need to get their job done, but we're protecting the business and our data on the other half of that. And then finally, Azure Active Directory does allow you to do audits that will have some advanced ability to kind of look into what your users are doing, what your teammates are accessing, when they're accessing it. And also, conditional access also covers the time of day. So you could even lock things down to the point where, okay, I want these staff to be able to access these documents only during these hours. These are all the things that we are, able to start deploying and utilizing with our teams once everybody is on this one unified platform. So that's Azure Active Directory. There's a ton of information on that. It is able to do many different things. And I should say, really for any of these software solutions or any of these instances, obviously every business is unique. Every business has its own needs and its own model and its own output. So if you've got questions related to this, please feel free to send those my way or to your account manager here at Andromeda. So the next thing that is going to be pretty nifty that M365 or Microsoft 365 for Business allows you access to is going to be Microsoft Intune. And essentially what this allows for is it allows you to securely link employee devices with that BYOD, or bring your own device, to company data in environment. So again, and I can't say this enough, but everybody for the most part these days does have a smartphone that they're bringing into the office. So that smartphone has personal applications like, let's say, my Facebook, my banking, it's got my pictures on it, it's got all kinds of stuff, right? But for all intents and purposes, if I want to use this to interact with data and applications for work, I need to make sure, or well, really the business, you got to make sure that you're protecting the business side of things. Because for all I could, download a bad app, I could do any number of things on my phone, or that could potentially create vulnerabilities, loopholes or backdoors into the network. But I could also, for who knows, next Wednesday I may decide to be a bad employee, and Andromeda may need to terminate my employment, and I've got open connections into our network. What's the business going to do? Are you guys able to remote wipe and disconnect my access to applications from the office if you don't have my phone in front of you? Microsoft Intune takes away a lot of that complexity because it allows you to make sure that your teammate, your staff, your individuals can bring in their devices and utilize applications internally, but it creates almost what I would say, almost like a firewall. It creates a barrier between the device and the employee and your internal infrastructure and your data. That's the most important thing. It means that, like, from the snap of a finger, we can remove things from devices. We can allow devices access to things in the field, and it's primarily utilized for these bring your own devices, things that are coming in and out of the office. So the last element within this EMS structure that I'm going to touch on, and there's more to go over here, but these are just kind of like the big three, is you do get access to Microsoft Advanced Threat Analytics. So essentially what this is going to do is it's going to be able to alert you of known risks. So, they've got a database of all types of known bad actors, known programs, known malicious entities. And if it notices anything that's going to be associated with that, if it notices something related to a new risk that's hit the market, it's going to make sure that your team knows about that. It also allows for detection of malicious attacks. So these programs are able to identify certain behaviors and changes that might take place on your network. They're always watching, always monitoring, and it may be able to actually detect a malicious attack as it's beginning, so that you guys can hopefully get in front of it and stop it. Then one of the other things I chose to call out here was that Microsoft Advanced Threat Analytics does analyze networks for bad actors and suspicious activities with the help of big data. So essentially, through the power of artificial intelligence and AI, this tool is able to take note of behaviors and patterns and instances. Because it's got this backlog of all of this data, the program can actually pick up on, okay, this person's over here in this file, this section of the server that it shouldn't be, or this bot is over here doing this thing that doesn't make sense. It uses artificial intelligence, and it applies that science, that the data and the science, to be able to help your business know if there's something going on that shouldn't be going on. Because again, the best defense is being a little bit more offensive about it, and in being on the hunt, on the prowl, making sure that we're looking out for these instances, these situations, before they create big problems, right? So we've covered a lot of info, and now we're going to dig into the frequently asked questions. And again, I know there's a lot of stuff to cover here. Microsoft 365 or M365 is really going to be Office 365 enhanced with Windows 10 Pro. So you've got your operating system, and then we've got this enhanced security element on the back end. The biggest thing I would say is that this is going to be great for businesses who are looking to scale easily. It's very budget friendly. It's easy to mix and match the programs. We're going to dig into a little bit of that here. But again, I encourage any specific questions you've got, feel free to throw those my way. So the first question is, are there different versions of M365? If you're familiar with Office 365, there's a bunch of different versions for a variety of different use cases. You've got Office 365 for home, we've got Office 365 for schools, then we've got the business premier plans, then we've got the enterprise plans, and they all have different software in them, they have different features available and all of those different things. I am happy to tell you that when it comes to M365, there's really two primary options that are broken into two different tiers. And it's essentially, are you a standard SMB? Are you a small to mid-sized business? Or are you enterprise? So there's business and enterprise. M365 for business, M365 for enterprise. And there's a few differences in here, but the real thing that I would point to is essentially the size of your business. So M365 for business works for every business up to about 300 employees because that's where it caps out. You can't have more than 300 licenses on that product line. Whereas let's say M365 for enterprise, if you've got more than 300 employees, that's when you'd want to start looking in that direction. That's kind of the biggest thing. And M365 for enterprise, it does offer additional security and compliance elements that are really great once we do enter into that arena of 300 or more devices, just because it's going to make sure that it's going to further lock things down. It's going to make sure that it's looking into, again, compliance standards for your industry and those types of things. So again, if that's something that you are thinking would fit your business better than just the standard Microsoft 365 for business, I would encourage you to reach out so that we can have a more in-depth and detailed discussion. So next is, how do I get Microsoft 365? Well, that one's simple. You just pick up the phone, to be honest with you. I mean, you can get Microsoft 365 just like Office 365. You can get it straight from Microsoft. You can get it from a trusted IT partner like Andromeda Technology Solutions. But essentially, I would just recommend that you contact your local Microsoft partnered reseller to discuss, your business, your needs, your setup, and make sure that all the nitty-gritty details are covered with respect to just planning and getting all of the details handled. This is another one that always ends up coming up because obviously cost is a factor. So what does Microsoft 365 cost? Well, I'm gonna cover the business plan since that's the primary area where we see the majority of our clients needing assistance. But Microsoft 365 for business starts out at about $20 per month on an annual agreement. Now that doesn't include, it can change a little bit because that's the number straight from Microsoft on, again, an annual agreement, not month to month. So that should be the base price that you anticipate to pay, whether you're paying Microsoft Direct or going to a trusted partner. Now, you may see different pricing from your partners because they may be offering additional services like backup and disaster recovery, enhanced white glove support, any number of things. But the product starts out at about $20 per user per month. And see, that gets pretty, what I was talking about earlier, this gets a little bit exciting when you think about using a product line like this for forecasting and budgeting, for instance. So where this becomes a little bit magical, if you will, is you could deploy this in a fashion of, whenever you add a new teammate, from the start, okay, this is how much it's going to cost us to get the PC and any necessary equipment. And then this is what our monthly cost is going to be for the operating system, for these security features, and all of the Office products. So you cover a big portion of your cost right there, and this is what it's going to cost every year. This is what the device costs. I mean, it really simplifies things, and that's what's so beautiful, or one of the things that's so beautiful, I would say, about most of these software as a service components and offerings is that, you know what you're getting, you know what you're budgeted for, and you know how to scale it. So again, the answer to the question though, what does Microsoft 365 cost? Starts at about $20 per user per month on an annual agreement. This is another big one. Will M365 require other things or upgrades to run at my office? So this is a cloud-based program. I didn't cover this in one of the questions just because it's something that we cover pretty often. But just like any other or most other software as a service programs, Microsoft 365 does require an internet connection to function in many, in some fashions. To get some of the Office the Office programs functioning and some of those features, you'll need the internet. But since it is a cloud-based program, it does require certain bandwidth and infrastructure to be able to get you the most efficient solution possible. So what you do want to do is you want to talk to your IT team or your IT partner and have them run, let's call it a stress test on the network, just to kind of see, okay, what are we getting right now with respect to download and upload speeds? What could we handle with respect to the different users at our office, using Office 365, the M365 programs, and then whatever function, whatever programs that they need to get their jobs done. Take all of that into account and just make sure that your pipeline, your bandwidth is strong enough to handle that type of use. Then I have, can I mix and match licenses between O365 and M365? So this was an interesting thing that I learned during my research, just because, for all businesses and all users, for all employees, maybe you don't need somebody to have the full M365 suite. Maybe you've got a part-time employee who really just needs the Office suite and access to their email. The answer is that yes, you can mix and match. You do not have to deploy M365 across the entire business, but that will create some issues for you with respect to just, uniformity across the organization. Since if you're not paying for M365 for every user, that means that every user is not going to have that operating system handled for them. They're not going to have those enhanced security features, those types of things, and you would need to address those separately. Because again, that's the real beauty in these products. It's the ease of use. It's that they're cloud-based software as a service, which means that as new features and things become available, they get pushed right out to the application, so you're never really using dated software. That's really exciting when we talk about operating systems. I'm going to move over to our Q&A section while I continue with my little tangent here. But earlier this year, we did see, and I'm sure you've heard about all of the switches and the transitions from Windows 7 to Windows 10 as Windows 7 is entering into, or it already has hit end of life. So one of the great things about a product like M365 is it offers up an option for the small to mid-sized business owner who, wants to find a way to budget out these big licensing costs, right? So if you had an office of, let's say, 100 users who you knew were going to be needing all of their operating systems, all the Windows 7 systems updated to Windows 10, and you're sitting here saying, how are we going to budget for this? How are we going to plan for it? How does this even work? When do I have to do it again? When is Microsoft going to decide that Windows 10 is out of date, right? And that they're not going to support that anymore. That's the situation that you end up kind of falling into whenever you are using an on-premises or a standard licensing format as opposed to switching over to a software as a service, cloud-based, month-to-month subscription. You have to have those conversations. You have to ask those questions. The great thing with M365 is you remove that barrier. You now know that your operating system is going to be taken care of. So whenever they make the decision to upgrade and to move on and away from Windows 10, that most likely will be handled with M365, and that'll just happen, like magic. There'll be some things that you got to do, but it will be taken care of. Separately, the same thing goes for your Office, the Office suite. So no longer will you have to worry about, out-of-date Word programs or Excel files that you're sending out or receiving from other companies that aren't compatible. You'll always have the latest and the greatest for the most part. And then additionally, you're getting the latest and the greatest from Windows and Microsoft when it comes to their enhanced security measures. They are more invested than anybody else in making sure that those softwares and those solutions are secure because they want you guys to keep using them, and we know that they are an industry leader. So for those businesses that are seeing these changes, that they've got you've got more employees that are bringing your devices, you've got laptops, you've got tablets, you've got cell phones, you've got salespeople on the go, you've got other teammates that are trying to work from home or maybe working from a coffee shop doing work who knows where. This is a really great solution and a really great option for you so that you can really kind of lock down, manage, and plan for the whole infrastructure of your business as it applies to Microsoft and those different elements. And the other really great thing is that Microsoft does make sure that this solution is compatible with most of the different softwares that you're already using. Since we are talking about an operating system here, you would want to make sure that you go to your IT team and you say, okay, what are all the different business essential programs that we're running from day to day? And are they compatible with this M365 product? What I can tell you is that from Microsoft, they do say that essentially if it would work with Windows 7, it'll work with M365. So that's kind of the the default you could kind of operate on, but I still would encourage you to make sure that you go and dig into that with your IT team. So this month we did a pre-recorded session of this. So I'm doing this live for you right now. So obviously, you know, we won't have a Q&A section just because I don't have anybody here asking questions of me at this moment. But I would encourage you, if you've got any questions whatsoever, please feel free to send those to me. You've got my email address. It's Abby L, which is A, B as in boy, I, L as in Larry, at wenetwork.com. Or as always, you can give us a call at the office, 815-836-0030. If I have confused you, if I have created questions, if I've created excitement about Microsoft 365, we would absolutely love to hear that from you. Feedback is the best gift that you can give us. And then otherwise, obviously, we are always here to help you, to empower you, and to help you, get the most you can out of your technology solutions. So without further ado, I'll hop off here. We'll see you next month, and thank you again.